Shifting focus for now, a lot rests on the US Supreme Court in the tariffs case. This comes after an appeals court ruled Trump's action on taxing global imports as illegal. In a verdict on Friday, a panel of judges basically said Trump had exceeded his authority by imposing global tariffs. And the case adds more uncertainty to the US trading partners and on Trump policies. Our next report telling you more.
The US Supreme Court has dabbled in a number of Trump administration cases recently. However, the legal fight over the president's global tariffs would place the justices squarely in the middle of an issue central to his economic goals. In his relentless pursuit of more executive powers, Trump has declared a number of emergencies that is over and above his policy priorities, which he claims enable him to take unilateral action disrupting global markets. He did this by imposing 10% baseline tariffs on almost all countries and even more on some nations. Trump cited national security concerns for his actions. He also used the fentanyl trafficking emergency to impose additional tariffs on Canada, China, and Mexico. However, 11 of 15 judges across 3 US courts called Trump's tariffs illegal. They concluded that he extended his authority and lacked the necessary legal basis. Ahead of the appeals court ruling, Trump's cabinet officials had warned that declaring tariffs unlawful would have a devastating impact on American foreign policy. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent warned of dangerous diplomatic embarrassment. Trump's allies filed statements in support of a request that any ruling against the administration be immediately put on hold until the US Supreme Court issues a final decision. Lutnick had said failing to do so would have devastating and dire consequences. But the appeals court ruled against the administration. The verdict also gave the president a deadline of mid-October to appeal to the Supreme Court before the ruling took effect. Separately, the judges sent the case back to the lower court to determine if it applied to everyone affected by tariffs or just the parties involved in the case. The twist, though, is that the appeals court cited a recent Supreme Court ruling as a guideline to the lower court to scope out the verdict. Recently, the US top court had ruled that judges should limit their verdicts to the parties involved in the case. That ruling barred judges from issuing so-called universal injunctions that go beyond the parties in a case and apply nationwide. But the Supreme Court left open the possibility that judges in some cases could use other legal mechanisms to reach the same outcome. Several judges used different mechanisms to reissue nationwide injunctions against Trump's birthright citizenship restrictions. That made the sweeping orders still appropriate under the new Supreme Court standard. Trump's chorus-singing administration expects to eventually win the case. Perhaps the president's best hope is the dissent penned in Friday's ruling by Judge Richard Taranto and 3 other judges. They say IEEPA uses broad language to provide flexibility in the tools available to the president to address unusual and extraordinary threats. Peter Navarro, White House Senior Advisor on Trade and Manufacturing, says the dissent presents a very clear roadmap to how the Supreme Court can rule in their favor. The real question now is, can Trump really get his tariff agenda through the Supreme Court? If not, will he be able to get the Congress to veto it, or would he face any difficulty? The tariffs case against the Trump administration was filed by a group of small businesses and states led by Democrats. The lawsuit challenged Trump's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to sidestep Congress and issue the tariffs. The case argues that Trump did so to force trading partners to negotiate rather than to address any legitimate national emergency. IEEPA does not mention tariffs and has never been used in such a manner. They have also argued that a ruling against the tariffs must apply across the nation. That issue may now become a focus of further arguments. Trump's policy shifts away from the long-established Republican Party's take on free trade. The president's decision to impose the policy change unilaterally rather than through legislation has exposed legal loopholes. Democrats have criticized Trump's tariffs. Many questions still remain, even as a final decision could still be many months away.
Artificial intelligence has made strides in just about every field. Medical science is no exception. Doctors, thanks to AI, are now able to detect critical heart conditions in seconds, literally. And the magic wand they seem to be wielding for this is an AI-powered stethoscope. According to a report by The Guardian, the AI stethoscope, developed by a team of researchers from Imperial College London and Imperial College Healthcare NHS Trust, can identify a total of 3 heart conditions within 15 seconds or less. The instant diagnosis can be a real-time saver so that the patients can be given the treatment that they need without wasting any more precious time. And the report says that the AI tool can also perform an ECG right then and there, filling in the doctor's monitoring the case with quick and efficient inputs. And the workings of the AI stethoscope are demonstrated on about 12,000 patients across 200 UK clinics reportedly. But how different is it really from a traditional stethoscope is the immediate question. A traditional centuries-old stethoscope has been a medic's trusted companion, of course, for locating conditions by listening to sounds within the body. And now this AI stethoscope is not just a mere upgrade, but something which can diagnose the lightest of variations or anomalies in heartbeats, as well as the blood flow that can bypass human hearing under normal circumstances. Experts suggesting innovations like this one could transform cardiac care, minimizing risks of heart failure, heart wall disease, abnormal heart rhythms going undetected, and can prove to be life-saving in ways more than one. Monsoon fury continues to wreak havoc in northern parts of India, and the scale of the damage is only growing. The relentless downpour triggered floods, waterlogging, landslides in many parts, bringing daily life to a standstill. Central and northern regions have been hit the hardest. The monsoon season has left behind a trail of devastation in the state of Himachal Pradesh. Torrential rainfall ended up swelling up the rivers far beyond their banks. Authorities have suspended the pilgrimage, leaving more than 15,000 devotees stranded. Since the monsoon started, relentless downpour and triggered disasters have claimed over 300 lives in the hill state. In Jammu and Kashmir, rescuers struggle to clear boulders and mudslides that have blocked critical routes. In Ramban, landslides buried stretches of the road under meters of debris, while flash floods in Riyasi inundated low-lying areas, forcing hundreds to flee their homes overnight. Authorities warning that with rainfall showing no signs of easing, the danger of additional floods and slope collapses is looming large. In Uttarakhand, the Chief Minister has warned that the next 24 to 48 hours will be crucial. He said the authorities are relocating families from the damaged and waterlogged homes to the safer areas, with disaster response teams working round the clock to minimize the casualties. Heavy rain, meanwhile, lashed Indore, flooding large parts of the city, sweeping away cars, leaving behind residents battling waterlogging throughout the day. The sheer intensity left drains overflowing, streets resembling rivers in some parts. Several colonies and squares were submerged. The national capital, meanwhile, has been drenched this August like never before in recent memory. It has already crossed its annual rainfall mark, forcing the Indian Met Department to issue a flood warning for some areas. According to the Indian Meteorological Department data, by August 30th, Delhi recorded 390.3 millimeters of rainfall, which is the highest for the month in 15 years. The last time Delhi saw anything close was back in 2010, when August clocked 455.8 millimeters of rain. Over the next 5 days, Delhi and its neighbouring parts are likely to witness an active monsoon spell for the next 5 days, bringing more light to moderate showers. Heavy rains in neighbouring Gurugram, meanwhile, caused major traffic jams with vehicles stalled in waterlogged streets. In response to these severe weather conditions, the government has issued a work-from-home advisory to help ease the commuter difficulties and ensure safety. Our next story is about a rather interesting trend that's being witnessed. Chinese students heading to Southeast Asia for higher education. This is as per a report by South China Morning Post. Let's just break this down for you and give you a better sense of what's being reported and what's playing out. According to Education Malaysia Global Services, a government-owned company in Malaysia responsible for managing student visas, Chinese applications saw a rise in the first half of this year, reportedly, as compared to the figures reported for the same period of 2024 and the figure recorded in 2023. That's a sample of what's been reported. In fact, the immediate question that also comes up is, what explains this? Which are the factors at play? Also, which are the countries part of that list of these destinations? Interestingly, in focus is Southeast Asia, not parts like Europe or the United States. And what's been playing out is closely tied to manufacturing firms expanding abroad. There's also the aspect of China's slowing economy. And if that continues to happen, affordability is a key factor. Simply put, making Southeast Asia manageable for middle-class families. So basically, Malaysia serves as a rather attractive destination, for instance, because of factors like lower tuition, also affordable living costs. Thailand and Indonesia are also options. In fact, for example, data from the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization indicating a jump in Chinese student enrollment in Thailand when comparing the figures of 2016 and 2024. So that's telling as well. In fact, as per the report, members of the ASEAN bloc of Southeast Asian countries have become a new frontier for Chinese capital. And there's also the aspect of rising graduate unemployment in China, which is leading to students opting for postgraduate degrees abroad. But at the same time, there is caution being sounded off by experts. For example, about how opportunities in Southeast Asia might not be as high as people imagine, and a number of parameters at play which will govern whether this trend lasts and whether it continues in the long term.